Hello friends, it's John Lone King and welcome to my next episode of From Profits to Properties, where I help business owners with tactics that will help you to improve your profits in your business and then teach you tactics to take those profits and build long-term wealth through a real estate portfolio. Now, normally I do two parts to my episodes. I do an episode that's focused on business tactics, and then I do an episode or a second part that is focused on real estate and wealth building portfolio tactics. Today, I'm going to do kind of all of it as one, and I'm going to kind of label this one the AI episode. So if you watched or listened to last week's episode, especially if you watched, you'll know I'm wearing exactly the same thing because yes, it is only about 10 minutes after I finished recording last week's episode. And that episode was about having excuses or results. And I specifically talked about the fact that I was behind on recording the episode and that I was not going to have excuses. And I pointed out the fact that I was going to record my next episode right afterwards. And well, here I am recording the next episode right afterwards. This one I'm going to call the AI episode. This is really about the future and what's happening because I think it's going to impact not just you and your business. It's going to impact everything about how we live our lives, including building wealth through real estate, including buying homes, including taking out mortgages. All of our businesses are going to be changing. Now, the question is, and I don't mean to sound cliche, are you going to change with it or not? And so I want to really do a deep dive right now into where I'm thinking things are at and where they're going. I'm listening a lot to what's happening. I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm reading a lot of articles. And there's a lot of really amazing things that are happening right now. And if you're not paying attention, my goal today is to give you a glimpse into what I'm seeing. If you are paying attention, I'm going to give you a different perspective into some of the things that I'm seeing and what I think it would mean to everyone who is in business. So first and foremost, the idea that AI is about ChatGPT, that is so 2024. Okay, I'm recording this in May of 2025, and ChatGPT came out, end of 2022? So we basically had 2 full years of ChatGPT. And that is what we call a large language model. It is just a brain, a super, super smart brain. And if you are not tapping into that brain in your business and your personal life, you are missing out on a huge opportunity. So make sure that you start today. If you haven't already, sign up for ChatGPT, pay the $20 a month. There is so much more you get for the $20 a month than what you get on the free tier that you are selling yourself short by saying I can get it for free. You're also a business owner. And as a business owner, you should believe in paying for something of value, just like you want your clients to pay you for the value that you're providing to them. So for that reason alone, pay for the service. But guess what? That's table stakes now. Large language models, chatting with a smart brain is great. And there's ways that you can enhance that. There's something called a custom GPT in ChatGPT that you can use that will allow you to create a chatbot that you personally can talk to that has a specific set of rules to it. It knows certain things and it ignores other things. For example, I have a custom GPT that I use to transcribe a lot of my client conversations. So I'll get permission from the client to record the conversation. I let them know I'm going to use it to run it through an AI system that will create a summary email specifically for this topic. Now, this is very different, similar, but very, very different than what you might see embedded into Zoom, where you can do a Zoom AI assistant and it can give you a meeting summary. The problem is that there's no specific template or guardrails around what you want that meeting summary to look like. I want to cover certain bullet points. I want to make sure I point out certain things. For example, if I'm talking to a client, I want to point out how much they're approved for. And if we didn't talk about how much they're approved for, why didn't we? But I also use another custom GPT to run another filter to give notes to my referral partner that may have less specificity than the notes that I sent to my client. Now, I could retype every single time into ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to use this transcript and write a note to my client using these parameters. I can even copy and paste it from being saved somewhere else. But that's extra work, especially if you're working in a team environment. It's easy for you by yourself to say, okay, I'm just going to do this specific activity, and I know what I want to put in as the prompt. So I'm going to pre-write a prompt and I'm going to put it somewhere else. Well, the problem is, what if you grow your team? And what if that team member doesn't understand when to use each individual prompt? And so pre-creating a whole chat that has the prompt built in is just one example of how we can take just the normal base level chat and 10x it a little bit further. Memory is becoming a really, really big thing. Again, I don't know when you're listening to this, but you're probably like, John, memory is so last year. Well, maybe so, because in 2026, maybe things are totally different. But memory is such a game changer because now the LLM, for example, ChatGPT, it could be Grok, could be Gemini, could be Claude. A lot of them are coming out with memory where it remembers things from chat to chat. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. You got to make sure that you're using it for a singular purpose, meaning you don't want to have one account that's used by you and your spouse and your kids and grandma and grandpa. Because then when you start talking about, hey, could you give me some context into this article, it's going to bring in things unrelated to you because grandma and grandpa were talking about something different the other day. So make sure that you're using it for a singular purpose. But I want you to think beyond this. I want you to think beyond just how to chat with the system. I want you to think of the next level of what's coming out, which is called AI agents. So being in business, you think about employees having a particular task. And you have somebody who is in charge of customer service and somebody who is in charge of fulfillment. Well, the same thing with AI. Instead of having a ChatGPT that you can just ask it as a friend or a coworker and share ideas with it, agents now have specific jobs, and agents are already here. You just have to learn how to build them, and they're coming soon to be very, very ubiquitous, very easy to build through something called vibe coding. The vibe coding is a term that came out a few months ago that basically allows a person who doesn't understand code or doesn't want to have to write code to create apps, to create web pages, to create tools on the internet without understanding how to fully write code and create it themselves. There are applications out there right now. Lovable is one of them. Bolt is another one. Replit is a third one. These apps allow you to use plain language to say, please create for me a mobile app that tracks the hours that I am spending in the car teaching my teenage son to drive. That's actually an example that I utilized. And I said, I want to have an app where when we get in the car, we can just click a button on this app and it will start counting the time. And then we can stop and it will automatically log the time and give us a grand total of how many hours we have spent practicing driving. I'm actually going to enhance it because I realized we got to pay attention to whether we're driving in the daytime or the nighttime. This is a simple app that I can build on my own. Now, it's a lot easier if you have a basic understanding of coding. But guess where I got my basic understanding of coding? By asking ChatGPT, using a tool called Deep Research. Now, currently, May of 2025, if you pay the $20 a month, you get 5 deep research projects or prompts a month. I've actually upgraded the $200 a month plan because I am in love with deep research. There's something else in the $200 plan called Operator. I won't get into that, but I am in love with deep research. In deep research, for example, I gave it a research prompt saying, hey, I don't know anything about coding. I need you to give me a manual, a playbook on everything I need to know as a novice about coding and how it works, so that I can use that knowledge to make sure that the apps that I'm creating with programs like Lovable or Bolt are doing what I want them to do. Now, the problem is, you might say, John, I'm not that good at prompting AI. I'm not that good at telling it what I want it to do for me. And so that takes into the next thing I want you to understand is what's called a reasoning model. Now, I know I'm covering a lot during this episode. I hope you listen to it 3 times. I'm gonna give you a tip in just a second on how to extract the information out of here. But what I'll tell you is you can use a reasoning model and say, help me create a prompt that will do the following. You're literally asking AI to help you with how to talk to AI. Now, you only get 5 deep research prompts a month. So you got a little more than one a week. So you got to think about, what am I going to use this for, and make sure that it is as thorough as can possibly be. And so you use a reasoning model. The current reasoning models in ChatGPT are O3, and then O4 mini and O4 high. Okay. Any one of them will work. O3 is better, more thorough, but depending upon the plan, you may not have a lot of usage of it. But the fact is, you ask it, hey, I want your help. Help me create a deep research prompt. Now, in my scenario, my deep research prompt is all about, how do I end up with, how do I want to say this? How do I learn how to do vibe coding? How do I learn how to use these apps like Replit and Lovable and Bolt? And please give me step-by-step instructions. Okay. Now, if this is a lot for you, I want you to pause for a second and think about how you learn. Now, do you learn through reading? Do you learn through watching videos? Do you learn by listening and audio? Do you learn by doing? Okay. Any of those modalities can be utilized in a large language model, in AI. Okay. If you learn by audio, if you learn by listening, there's a tool called Notebook LM. You can actually do it in Gemini as well. So Gemini is another version. It's Google's version of ChatGPT. And in Gemini or Notebook LM, you could upload a report. You could take the deep research report that you got, and you could upload it into Notebook LM or Gemini and say, please create an audio podcast for me explaining all of the information in this report. Yeah, AI will create a podcast where you have two hosts talking to each other about the topic that you have presented to them. I had one that gave me a 37-minute outline of the topic. Now, I talk fast. I also listen to things fast. So I put it on double speed. That means that I got it done in 18 minutes, okay? Because I put it in 18 and a half minutes. I put it in a double speed. So there's efficiencies here. I can listen to it while I'm driving. I can listen to it while I'm working out instead of having to read this paper. So depending upon how you learn, there are ways today to utilize AI to help you learn how to use AI better. And that's the key, is how can I take this further in my business? How can I create an app that helps me do something? Now, you got to be worried about security. So be super cautious if you don't know anything about infrastructure and architecture of online apps and mobile apps. You might not want to create something that's tracking things that need to be secure. You want to make sure that there's good security behind it. But if you're creating an app to track the number of hours that you're spending in the car with your kid, teaching them how to drive, I'm not so worried about the hackers coming in and taking that data. It don't matter. So I can create an app for myself. I can create a to-do list app. There's so many things that you can do, that you can build. If you just start learning how to do this, we're shifting a greater shift than we had when the internet started years ago. When the internet started, everybody was doing things the way they were doing it. And now they feel like, how could I ever have done this without the internet? Well, you're not very far away from saying, how could I ever have done this without AI? Hey, everybody, I want to take a quick time out from our show to remind you about my Rent Qualifier Loan. If you are looking to build your real estate portfolio and you have gone through the process before buying rental properties, you know it's a tedious process of looking at everything, and that isn't required anymore. Check out my Rent Qualifier Loan, where we simplify the process and you get similar interest rates with a lot more flexibility simply by looking at the rental income of the property you're buying or refinancing compared to the mortgage payment. So for more information, reach out to us by calling us at 85 Loan King. That's 855-626-5464, or go to 85loanking.com/RQ. There's a study that was done recently about how people are using AI. And it said that the older generations are using AI as a replacement to Google searching. Literally going in, they're searching for something, but they're letting AI do the search for you. And the younger generations are using it as a friend. They're using it as somebody to give them advice, somebody to help coach them through the things that they're dealing with, a therapist. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong to do one or the other. What I'm telling you is that it is evolving. And if you are not evolving with it, you are going to be left behind. If you say, no, my business is a brick and mortar business and I don't need any of that AI stuff, that you're missing the opportunity. You're missing the opportunity to grow your business with a very, very small increase in cost. You could offer things to your clients you never could have imagined offering them before because you have the ability to do it using AI. And this growth from going from a chat-based conversation to agents that can connect automatically to information, give you answers, perform actions on your behalf. Now, kind of the high level stuff of agents is, hey, it can schedule restaurant reservations. It can schedule airline reservations. Sure, that's fine. That's simple, but I can do most of that stuff myself. But if it can go through and create blog posts for me and then present them to me to edit them, or maybe I have two agents, one that's my blog post writing agent, and then another one that is my proofreading agent. But I might have a proofreading agent that proofreads with one particular persona, that maybe they're a client of a particular generation. And then I have another proofreading agent who uses a different persona to proofread it and give feedback. And so now I can actually do proofreading and get customer feedback before I've ever talked to a real customer. I can use AI to create a voice-to-voice conversation where I can role play a conversation in a sales call. And I can talk through the objections that I have ran into and get advice on how to overcome those objections. AI gives you the opportunity to do so much more with so little amount of your time, so little amount of your money. The opportunity is huge when it comes to AI. I'm going to talk more and more about it. I'm working on building out AI training content. The truth is right now I'm looking at focusing on loan officers and real estate agents. If you're a business person and you really want to get into AI and you want some help with it, reach out to me. I'm actually creating, I have a webpage already. It's called AIEdgetraining.com. Currently, it's focused on loan officers and real estate agents. At some point in the future, I'm going to build a component of it that's going to focus on general entrepreneurs and business people. But I'm really looking to grow myself, to grow my business. And I figure what's the best way for me to make sure I'm staying on top of it is to teach it, is to show it to other people, to put myself out there as an expert in my industry on using AI as an individual entrepreneur. With my small team, I'm not talking about building big apps that are running, multinational corporations and Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about running my business right here and finding better, faster ways to accomplish the things that I was doing before without having to increase my manpower significantly. Maybe finding ways to decrease the time I'm spending on these activities so that I can have more harmony in my life. So I can have more opportunity to spend time with my wife and my 3 children and doing the things that I want to do. That's what this is about. Finding opportunities for leverage, finding opportunities for growth. And that's what I'm here to help you do. So if you need help with any of this, please continue listening. I'm going to continue to be a resource for you. If you want to check it out, go to AIEdgetraining.com. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. We'll see you back next week. We'll do this back to the old version of doing 2 separate parts of our episodes. But this week, I wanted to kind of dive in really deep on the AI episode. Thanks for listening. If you like this information, share it with anybody that you know. If you can leave me a review on whatever platform you're watching, I'd really appreciate that. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.